What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today we are going to be talking about the massive changes coming to divisions in Call of Duty World War II. This is by far going to be the biggest change to a post-launch Call of Duty ever. They are pretty much changing the complete way you make classes. So this isn't out yet, but it is coming out on April 10th with DLC 2. Fortunately, I got to go down to Sledgehammer and play this build a little bit early, so thanks to Activision for flying me down there. But this is the biggest thing in my opinion, and it's unlimited sprint. Every single class has unlimited sprint. Doesn't matter what division you're playing, you have unlimited sprint. Now, I know not everyone is going to love this, but personally, I really like it. With the removal of the 3D movement system, with jetpacks being gone, with wall running being gone, it slows down the game a lot. One way to speed that up is to give every single player unlimited sprint. And it doesn't make the game feel completely different, but it definitely speeds it up a little bit, and personally, I really like that. Next, they removed attachments as skills for the division. So what I mean by that is one of the skills for the infantry division prior to this was that you could have a bayonet. The bayonet is now an attachment for that weapon. In conjunction with the infantry or assault rifles, you can also attach rifle grenades or noob tubes as well. Now, these aren't very good. It's basically impossible to get a one-hit kill with a noob tube in this game unless you hit them directly. I think they did a very good job balancing them, but that is also an attachment as well. Similarly, you used to be able to put a silencer on your Airborne division. Now it's an attachment. So on all your SMGs, you can equip it as an attachment. This is also on pistols as well. So now you can run a full stealth class. You can run an SMG with a suppressor with the mountain division, which gives you stealth, which you are no longer seen on UAVs. The only two that are now not attachments are, first of all, the bipod for the armor division. That is just on all LMGs to begin with. It's just always there. And secondly, the mountain division, the thing where you can hold your breath, that is just with all sniper rifles. You don't have to be using the mountain division. So now you can use a sniper rifle, hold your breath, and have decreased idle sway, let's say, with the infantry division, or move faster while aim down sights with the infantry division. So a lot more freedom there. The attachments are now actually attachments, not part of the divisions. But now I think we should go through and have a look at every single division and see what has changed. So as you're going to see, there's a lot more depth to these divisions. The first one we're going to look at is infantry. So the 4 perks before were, first of all, 1, the rifle bayonet. That is now gone, as we just discussed. The second was additional primary attachment, extra magazines, and finally move significantly faster while aiming down sights. What we have now is, once again, an additional primary attachment. The second is a second pistol attachment and swap weapons faster. So that swap weapons faster actually used to be part of a basic training skill. Now it is part of the infantry division. The third thing is, while aiming down sights, have less idle sway. That's big with using fully automatic assault rifles because they do have more idle sway in this game than previous Call of Duty games. And then finally, move faster while aiming. So that's similar to before, once again, almost like a stock attachment. Up next, we got Airborne, and in my opinion, this one is the one that's the most different. You'll see why in a second. So for the old Airborne division, you had, first of all, an SMG suppressor, as we talked about. That is now an attachment. Second of all, you had sprint for longer distances. As I mentioned, every single division now has unlimited sprint. The third is climb over obstacles faster, and the fourth is increased sprint speed. The new division has, first of all, fire guns while sprinting and diving. Then reload while sprinting, climb over obstacles faster and no damage from falling, and finally sprint faster over time. I think the best one there is the fourth one, sprint faster over time. It's almost like momentum, something we saw in Infinite Warfare. The longer you sprint, the faster you're going to move. This is still the run and gun division. It's just now more possible to run and gun as other divisions because of that unlimited sprint. There's still faster movement with the Airborne. It's just that every other class also has that unlimited sprint as well. Up next, the Armored Division. So the LMG bipod, as I mentioned, this is not an attachment now, but rather it's just simply on all of the LMGs to begin with. Second thing is immune to shell shock and tactical equipment. Third is take less fire damage. And finally, take significantly less explosive damage. The new division, first of all, take significantly less explosive damage and fire damage. That is now bundled into one perk. The second thing is immune to shell shock and tactical equipment. Third is increased bullet penetration through surfaces. And 4 is greatly reduce flinch when shot. In my opinion, this is now one of the best divisions. Before, it wasn't used very much. Now, I think it's absolutely amazing. To have a built-in hunker, which is take less explosive damage, on top of that, you flinch less when being shot, which is going to help you win more gunfights. I really do think this is a hugely significant improvement to the armor division. Next, for all you snipers, is the mountain division. So before, you had the sniper sharpshooter. As I mentioned, this is just built in with all snipers, just like every other Call of Duty game now. The second thing was always invisible to enemy recon aircraft. Third is hidden to player-controlled streaks. And finally, silent movement. This one didn't change an overabundant amount, but it did change a little bit. So first of all, we have invisible to enemy recon aircraft and controlled streaks, so that's nice. Also, killed enemy deaths locations are hidden, so no longer will that kind of skull and crossbones appear for the enemies. It is now just not going to be there. Next, you have no name or reticle change when enemies aim at you. This is absolutely huge because what this means is that there is now counter sniping. So if an enemy is using lookout with a sniper, it won't show you if you are using the mountain division. It won't pop up with bright colors. They actually have to see you, which is, I think, a really cool improvement on this class. And finally, once again, silent movement. So I do think that there is definitely a time and place for this division. I think it still works very well with snipers, simply for that counter sniping like I talked about earlier. Next, the old shotgun expeditionary division. What we had for this was, once again, shotgun incendiary shells. This is now, once again, an attachment, not part of the division. The next thing was select a piece of tactical and lethal equipment. Third was throw equipment faster, farther, and while sprinting. And finally, resupply equipment from killed enemies. The new division is, first of all, double lethal and tactical and enhanced equipment use. So I believe that's just throwing grenades faster, for example. This is insane. This is like one of the trolliest things in the world. So you can have 2 grenades and on top of that, 2 sorts of tactical equipment, whether that be a flashbang or whatever. That's just a lot of explosions. On top of that, the second thing is munitions replenished from killed enemies and over time. That's, again, pretty damn trolly. The third thing is improved tacticals and easier to destroy war buildables, so specifically a thing to do with war there. And finally, equipment damage paints enemies on the mini-map. So that's something that's a little bit annoying in Search and Destroy, because if you throw a grenade to the other side of the map and it just hits someone a little bit, they're then going to show on the mini-map, which is a little bit annoying. I would say overall, the Expeditionary should be changed to the Troll Division, because having that many explosives and able to replenish them and be able to use this with rocket launchers, as we're going to talk about in a little bit, is pretty insane, and I think a lot of people are going to use this as like almost like a trolley class. And finally, we have Resistance, and in my opinion, this is the most improved class. It's either Armored or Resistance. Personally, I'm going to be using this a lot more. So before, you had the pistol tactical knife. Now, this is once again an attachment. Also, with pistols, you are able to put suppressors on them now. So, similar to SMGs, you can now have suppressors on pistols. The old one was, once again, scramble nearby enemies minimaps. Third is additional pistol attachments. And fourth is minimap indicator in the direction of close hostiles. So, what has changed? The first thing we got is minimap indicator and scrambler of close hostiles. So once again, they kind of put that into one perk. Once again, the scrambler, you can toggle on and off, so you don't always have to have it on. I never have it on, so just it depends on what you want to use it like. The second thing is enemy movements are easier to hear, so louder footsteps. I think that's really awesome. Going to be great for Search and Destroy. The third is kills and assists grant intel ping of nearby enemies. So when you kill someone or get an assist on someone, what happens is that there's going to be a ping from that dead body that shows where nearby enemies are around that dead body, almost like a mini UAV. I actually talked about it in my video earlier today when I talked about the 2 new basic training skills. So if you want, you can go check that out. I'll leave a card on screen here and also probably a link at the end of the video. And the fourth and final perk is easier to spot targets and increased minimap coverage. We weren't 100% sure what the easier to spot targets thing thing is, I believe it's something along the lines of Lookout, which is already a really good perk, and increased minimap coverage is the exact same thing that Lookout does as well. So you almost have like a built-in Lookout perk with your resistance division, which is really, really good. Not to mention that minimap indicator shows you where nearby enemies are, plus on top of that, the ping of when you kill enemies. This is, I think, going to be a really, really strong division that I think a lot of you should check out come April 10th. So the next and final thing we're going to look at here is some changes to basic training skills. The first of which is launch. So this is the old launch. This is take a launcher as a secondary and resupply it from enemies killed without explosives. As we now know, launchers can just be equipped as a secondary. You don't have to take a basic training skill to actually equip one. The new launch, this is the new perk here, it says additional launcher ammunition and resupply launchers from enemies killed without explosives. So similar to the old one, but now you can equip a launcher simply as a secondary without the basic training. Another perk that changed, this is the new instinct. So just like before, you get a warning when targeted off screen, and on top of that, you detect explosives. The new feature to this is the bonus here. You are immune to shell shock and tactical equipment. So no longer will you be frozen up by a grenade that just lands near you or hit by something like a flashbang. So the next thing what you're seeing here is the new ordnance. Before ordnance, you had cheaper score streaks and you could re-roll care packages. Now, care packages are re-rolled with the perk Blitzkrieg, which I actually talked about in an earlier video today. Now, ordnance, what you can do with it, as you can see on screen here, is you had cheaper score streaks and killed enemies drop streak packs that fill your meter. So you can now run over enemies, that gives you additional score and makes getting score streaks a little bit easier. If you ask me, this perk is going to work pretty ridiculously with Kill Confirm, because you're going to get extra score from the score pack and extra score from picking up dog tags, which is absolutely insane. Next, and one of the biggest changes, is Primed. Primed is going to be out of the game altogether. Every single class is going to have an extra primary attachment. So no matter what division you're using, you're going to have an extra primary attachment. And of course, if you're using that infantry division, you get a fourth primary attachment, no longer a use to use prime. Also, the reduced flinch is now a part of the armored division, not a part of the primed perk. So big change there. This is another perk that just changed a little bit, so that is Forage. This used to work exactly like Scavenger. The only difference is they've now changed that you also get extra magazines on top of the perk. This is something they actually took from the Infantry division and is now a part of the Forage basic training skill. Another big change to the game that I don't really like is they got rid of Bang. So what this used to do is you could take a MK2 fragmentation as a lethal and an extra piece of tactical equipment. Now, every single class, no matter what division you're using, gets one piece of lethal and one piece of tactical. On top of this, if you use the Expeditionary division, you get 2 pieces of lethal and 2 pieces of tactical. What this means is there's going to be a little bit more grenade spam. It wasn't over the top when we were playing with YouTubers at the recording event, but we'll have to wait to see once this actually goes live and everyone has either a lethal and a tactical or 2 lethals and 2 tacticals. This is the only real change to the division system that I'm really on the fence about. And the final basic training skill that changed is Concussed. This one, you get to take 2 pieces of lethal and tactical, similar to the Expeditionary division. Simply another way that people are going to have more tacticals and lethal grenades. So all in all, what do I think of this? I think this is absolutely fantastic. In my opinion, this makes the created class system much better. It makes it easier to use something like a suppressor. Now you don't have to use it with the Airborne division. You can use it with the Mountain division and have a stealthy class. It's a lot more freedom than was previously in the division system. It's still not quite that pick 10 system that a lot of people like, but it's a lot closer with this. Now there are 2 things about this that I don't love. The first of which is the extra grenades. I don't think every single class needs a tactical and needs a lethal grenade. If you look at the pick 10 system, a lot of people didn't even use grenades so that they could use extra attachments or other things altogether. Now that everyone gets a lethal and tactical, there's going to be a lot more grenades and tacticals thrown throughout matches. The other thing, it's not that I don't like, but I'm just worried about, is the new perk Blitzkrieg. I talked about this earlier today, but it's basically a perk that allows you to get kills only, and that gives you kill streaks. It's no longer score, and on top of that, it buffs your kill streaks. The thing I'm worried about is I would like to see them simply buff kill streaks the way they are, not have to use a basic training skill to buff them. And with this, I don't know whether they're going to do that or not now. All I'm asking for is a little bit better of score streaks in the game and not to have to use a piece of basic training to get those. That's what I'm worried about. But overall, this is an amazing patch for the game. It's really going to improve the way it's played. And if you're one of those players who currently isn't playing World War II, this is something I definitely recommend giving a try when it comes out with DLC 2 on April 10th. But guys, those are my thoughts. Those are all the changes. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you like these changes? Do you hate them? Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, if you like the video, it'd be fantastic if you'd hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, peace out.
You should take it slow.